Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 70-73 Carryover League Draft Prep. Last time we looked at transactions that occurred after 1969. Now we're going to look at transactions that happened a full year later than that. We're going to go after the 70 World Series, where the Reds would lose to the Orioles 4-1. And we had a lot of action and trades starting in October. If you watched the last video, we discussed the Dick Allen situation as a Philly getting traded to the Cardinals, and then traded to the Dodgers. And in this transaction, actually, this is the Dodgers making a move with the Cardinals. Apparently didn't work out with St. Louis in that initial year, so the Dodgers traded Ted Sizemore and Bob Stinson for him. So much like the previous video, I discussed that I just wanted to get Dick Allen to the White Sox and just have him play there, and avoid this extra transactions that don't really benefit anybody. Don't benefit the Phillies, Cardinals, or Dodgers. They really only benefit the White Sox. I might as well let them get their dude, because he really does well with the White Sox. He played okay in all the spots, but he was an MVP with the White Sox. So, all right, so we're going to continue looking at transactions at the end of the season and into the next year, and call it after that. If there's something that looks interesting, I might use it in the Hot Stove League. So we're looking at kind of big or multi-person trades. All right, this is an interesting trade on October 9th here. The Tigers trade Elliot Maddox, Denny McLain, McRae and Wirtz, the Senators, for Ed Brinkman, Joe Coleman, Jim Hannon, and Aurelio Rodriguez. All right, so this is definitely an important trade for where the guys are now and how this all plays out. I'll just kind of go through this piece by piece. So the Tigers played in my Carryover League World Series, and they lost to the Mets 4-1. On the left side of the Tiger infield, they had Elliot Maddox, Dick Tracewski, and another player named Kevin Collins, who was actually an Expo. Those three guys play the left side of the Tiger infield. Denny McLain, his card is expired. His 69 card is gone. And so you're seeing that it's almost like these Tigers are doing the same thing the Carryover League Tigers would do, and move some pieces around. They already have Joe Coleman. He's already on Detroit. So that part of the movement has already occurred. The prizes here are slick fielding Ed Brinkman and slick fielding Aurelio Rodriguez. Now, A-Rod, original A-Rod I like to call him, is happily in Las Vegas playing for that expansion team. So when we boil this thing down to what's left, it's Ed Brinkman for Elliot Maddox and Denny McLain. And frankly, that wouldn't be that bad a gig, because Denny McLain is really falling off a cliff. Ed Brinkman wins a Gold Glove here at shortstop and gets MVP votes for his defense in 72. Whereas Elliot Maddox is a nice utility infielder, but he doesn't start to hit well until the mid to late 70s. It's a lot of names and a lot of activity. I would like to see, from all of this, Ed Brinkman go to the Tigers in the Hot Stove League, or before the season starts, before the draft starts, because their weakness at shortstop hurt them in the World Series. There we go. Let's keep going now. If I see a name that jumps out at me. All right, here's a trade that I can't do. The Red Sox trading Conigliaro and Jerry Moses, who they have, to the Angels for Doug Griffin, Jarvis Tatum, and Ken Tatum. All right, so the Angels moved Tatum already in the offseason to an expansion team. Jarvis Tatum's not particularly good. Doug Griffin is available to the Red Sox out of the rookie pool. They can just take this dude. The Angels don't have control of him anymore. Conigliaro would be a nice piece for the Angels, but they frankly don't have control of any, There's no reason for the Red Sox to give up Conigliaro at this point, and Jerry Moses is on their keeper list to back up Carlton Fisk. So a lot of familiar names for me, but there's no reason to move anybody around. Metzger for Torres is a minor deal. I love Metzger's defense, though. Okay, we talked about that Pat Kelly would eventually move to the White Sox. And the principal in here is Gail Hopkins. Nothing exciting. I eventually will have Kelly move on. I think the Royals will mostly want to boot Kelly out of their outfield because they're going to get Al. They're going to have a loaded outfield and they have no room for Pat Kelly at a certain point. Nothing exciting there. Fran Healy's in the trade. Jerry McNerney, Carl Taylor, they're on different teams. Like I said, most of the incidental trades aren't a big deal. I might just find a player I like and move them to that team. The trades of the significance, the Dick Allen trade, the Joe Morgan trade, the Tom Seaver trade later in the decade, really impactful trades. I'll try and keep on their arc from my carryover league. So moving on, releasing players. We're into November. So this is interesting. The Phillies traded a player to be named later, and Curt Flood, who wasn't on the Phillies. So for all these guys, which is very strange, Flood didn't report in the Dick Allen trade. So I don't know how the Phillies could then trade a guy who never shows up, but well, whatever. We're just going to skip that one. That doesn't have an impact, really. Turpco's good in like 75. Okay, then the Rule 5 draft. You'll see some fun names of guys who will bloom in the mid 70s on. All right, we have some trades, though, at the tail end that got blended in here. Orioles trading Mo Drabowski to the Cardinals for Jerry Devannon. Bunch of guys here, no big deal. Angels trading John Stone to the White Sox. So the White Sox, I didn't think about that. So John Stone, if he loses his spot in California, he could sit in Chicago for a while before eventually going to the Phillies. Ken Berry, though, is happily on the Las Vegas expansion team. Tom Bradley is going to stick around for the Chi Sox. Here's a big trade. The Orioles trading Bean, Enzo Hernandez, Phoebus, and Severance into the Padres for Pat Dobson, who will win 20 games for them in 1971. This is an interesting move. A lot of decompress here. So Bean is kind of on the Yankee farm system list. The Yankees are probably going to promote Fred Bean with his 73 card. That's the first time he's any good. So the Yankees are going to end up with him. Enzo Hernandez ends up on the Padres anyway. Phoebus is free, and he's not particularly good. And Pat Dobson's already on the Orioles. So that, and Tom Dukes is on one of the expansion teams in the National League. So this is all broken up into too many little pieces here. I can't do anything with that. Del Canton, May, and Patek. Well, Patek is on Kansas City already. Bob Johnson has been moved. Nothing exciting there. Fan Zone, Gagliano. Gagliano's having a nice year. Fan Zone hasn't really emerged yet. Purchasing Duke Sims. Oh, here's a nice trade. The Indians trading Duke Sims for Alan Foster and Ray Lamb. Well, Duke Sims is a really good card, I believe in 72. And the Indians have the rights to that. The Dodgers always had these lefty catchers going back. They had Tom Haller, they had Johnny Oates, they had, of course, Mike Scioscia by the early 80s. And they used to platoon them with guys like Steve Yeager. So I'm not sure if Sims will go to the Dodgers. Alan Foster will pitch well by the mid-70s. He's very young here. Angels trade Garrett for Maloney, but Maloney, both these guys are too old, or they just don't pan out after they leave their teams. So this trade didn't work out. Roger Freed must have been a nice prospect because the Orioles got a boatload in return. They got Grant Jackson, who will be a standout lefty guy in the bullpen for a decade for them and the Pirates, and 2 other guys for Freed. And we have now, before the 71 season, the year is starting, we have free agents, amateur free agent signings. We're into January before spring training. We have a amateur draft. Nothing really exciting to look at other than to say, hey, look at these guys. They'll eventually be good in the set. Johnny Grubb, Roy Smalley, Rich Dower. They'll eventually be pretty good in the mid-70s, mid to late 70s. Bill Voss for Gene Brabender. That's not a big deal. This is a pretty cool trade between 2 teams in the same division. The Pirates sent Matty Alou to the Cardinals. Wow, they must have been convinced that Al Oliver could take over in center field for them. Obviously, it worked. They won the World Series. Because they wanted Nelson Briles and Vic Davalillo. Wow, that's a fun trade. George Burnett doesn't do a whole lot. So, well, Alou already got moved to Seattle because I knew the Pittsburgh wanted a new center fielder. So we had them move Alou to Seattle, figuring that Alou wouldn't hurt the Pirates' chances. This was kind of risky because if Alou was an all-star for the Cardinals, that would hurt the Pirates' chances. Briles is also out of this division on a different team. Davalillo is on the Florida expansion team. Oh, look at this deal. The Dodgers trade Andy Costco to the Brewers for Al Downing. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Well, Costco was traded in the offseason, but to the Colorado Rockies. And Al Downing is on the Ohio player expansion team. So 2 expansion team players. That's good. See talent go there. Anytime I see talented guy, expansion teams, they need to get guys who get traded a lot, who are good, versus you're not going to get Johnny Bench, or you're not going to get Brooks Robinson, or guys who play their entire career in one franchise if you're an expansion team. So they have to be on the lookout for guys who bounce around a lot. That's what I try and do. Not much names here. We're right into spring training at this point. Yeah, and the guys moving really aren't of consequence, really. Here's an interesting deal. Tony Muser and Vicente Romo for Dwayne Josephson and Danny Murphy. Josephson's a good hitting catcher. Muser's a slick fielding first baseman. Romo's a good setup guy. Doesn't do much for me. I mean, it's the set of variables in Major League Baseball versus the set of variables in the carryover league when players are strewn all over the place is very hard to line up. But I'm looking for like a handful of moves of consequence. And that's going to do it. The season has started, so we can pick this up next time with the following year, the transactions before the 1972 season. So that's been interesting. And once again, it's funny, but the Dick Allen, the very first video, the very first transaction I reported on was the most important one of that year. And after all that investigation, I noticed that, yeah, I do want to get Ed Brinkman to the Tigers for his glove. And he's a world's, the Tigers were in the World Series, so it makes sense to get back and make some deals to do it. So, but that's it tonight for this investigation into transactions after the 1970 season. Hope you're enjoying this interesting examination of Major League Baseball during this period. Thanks for checking out these videos, and we'll see you next time.